Hi everyone and welcome to the very first Star Trek Eaglemoss model review show. This is me, Commander Cockins, and joining us, hopefully every week, is Captain Foley. Hi Captain Foley.
Hey, Commander, how you doing? What am I doing here?
Well, these are models and you're a model builder. You're an amazing model builder, so we thought we'd bring you on and discuss this model.
Awesome, cool, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, what are we looking at today?
Galaxy Class Enterprise E, or D, sorry.
Well, it was an E at one point, but that's a separate piece of information. So this is the first Eaglemoss model. This was released in the UK on the 21st of the 8th, 2013, and it's a scale model, 1 to 4,610. So what does that mean in modelling terms, Stuart?
Wow, that means that this is a big ship if it's that size and that scale. Yeah, there's basically 4 standard scales for Enterprise models, or Star Trek models, I guess. 350 scale, which is the big one, 1000 scale, which is the most popular, 1400 scale, which a lot of the resin casted ones are in, and then 2500 scale, which are quite small. But yeah, that's an interesting scale for this.
With such a scale, you can get quite a lot of detail, and this model is certainly one to have detail. This was the first in the collection, and the first one, obviously, as with these sorts of collections, is cheaper to try and get people in, and so they really went all out with this one. So, Stuart, first impressions are when you saw this model.
This thing looks fantastic. I mean, what a great kickoff to this Eaglemoss collection.
Yeah, I saw this as a TV ad, and I thought, this is the one collection I'm going to get. So I was very happy, and I bought one straight away, subscribed straight away, and I was very happy with it when I got it. So let's talk about the positives first. So what do you see straight away as positives on this model?
The amount of detail. I mean, this is such a huge ship. To scale it down this far is pretty incredible, but to make it feel still like it's got scale to it,
yes,
is really conveyed with this model. Just the detailing on those windows, some lit, some not. The banners and pennants are just beautiful. I mean, it just makes this thing really pop. And the hull detailing, different plates and stuff, it makes it feel huge.
You got Aztecing throughout, you've got the escape pods, you've got, like, say, the windows. I mean, the whole thing, I mean, it's all baked into the model, so it's not just painted, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, the detail we see definitely represents the large studio model that was used in TNG rather than the smaller model, which has the scaling wrong. This is correctly scaled. Andrew Probert would like it because it looks as it should.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the first things I noticed, though, is I know you got the clear engine parts there, so you can see that glow through them.
Yes, that's an Eaglemoss trope. They try and give most Federation, and in fact a lot of alien ships, if they have a nacelle part or an engine part, they try and make it see-through plastic of the relevant colour, so that, as you can say, you put up to a light and it feels like it's active. And in this case, you've got the red facades, which unfortunately look black when filmed this way, but the blue certainly works.
One thing I'm noticing, though, is the pegs that are holding the 2 engine halves together. You can see them through the clear, which is kind of distracting. But, I mean, it can't really be helped, I don't think, with the format they were going for. But like you said, those red front ends don't really show red to me. It's almost like they chose too dark a color.
Yeah, because in the actual show, there's 2 lights, or even some 3 lights inside them. It would have been nice to actually have had maybe even painted internal parts that look brighter. I don't know, but that's a separate thing. You can see with the phaser strips, their physical detail. The deflector, there's actually detail in that.
I'm noticing, like, one thing that always sticks out to me as a model builder is seam lines.
Yes.
And the top of that deflector, and then running along the side of the secondary hull. Now, the side one isn't too bad. It doesn't really matter on this one, because there is actually a gap there in the actual model, the real ship. But that one going up and over the top of the front of the deflector there is kind of distracting.
Now, one thing we're going to try and do in this show is get you very close to the model, because, you know, we have the technology to get very close, which gives you a different perspective. So a lot of the stuff we're saying is, you could say nitpick, because you might not see it, but we want to, you know, show you what this model has to offer. Although I've got to say about seam lines, but there's a really nice seam line with the source separation lines. Yes. Because that's one thing you can get away with, and I really like how definite they are in the model.
Now, just to be clear for all the viewers out there, this thing doesn't saucer separate, does it?
Nope, it's one whole piece with a nice die-cast saucer and plastic secondary bits, which if you actually, it does feel a very robust model, although the engine struts actually do feel a little bit not uneven, but a little bit wobbly, but that's just because of the nature of the scale and how thin they are, as you would get. Something
else I'm noticing is the impulse engines are a nice bright red and they really pop.
Yes.
Which really adds to the detail for me. And I think the nacelles should have been that color, even if they painted them or had just a lighter color red clear part on there, I think would look much better. But the upper ones on the saucer drive there, the whole impulse engine's colored red, not just the inner part, which kind of bugs me. That should be like a dark gray around the edge of it, and then just red at the back.
Yeah, well, it's always that flexibility with the Canon, you know, how detailed can you get with the model? That's probably one of the concessions they made. I've got to say, looking at this, there is a lot of color. It's a very vibrant model. There's a lot of reds, a lot of blues, almost too much. It almost pops out a little bit too much, especially with the impulse engine. That's probably why, because when we see this model on screen, we get used to the dimensions, and so seeing just a solid block of red overcompensates, as it were.
Another detail that I wish they would have included would have been the slightly darker gray shuttle bay doors. I think that really would have added that extra sense of detail and scaling there, which keeping them the same color as the hull is it's not correct, first of all, and it just doesn't make it pop. So
but yeah, that brings us on to some of the a really nice detail I like about the ship is that the pennants and all the text is very crisp, very readable, very nice all over the ship, and it's small text, but it's really nice and clear, which I love.
I know I already complimented the windows, but I gotta point out a little nitpick about them. I initially saw these in Vegas before this collection was released, and I wanted to order it right off the hop, but I lived in Canada. It didn't ship to Canada, so I couldn't. So I probably saw them maybe before you did. I don't know. I heard they were going to be hand painted, which I thought was awesome, because a lot of times you get computers that are stenciling these colors on, and a lot of times they're offset and they don't quite match up with the detail that they're trying to paint.
Yes.
So I thought the hand painting would be amazing and it would be well worth the money. But I'm seeing a few of the windows that are a little bit misaligned.
Yes.
Now, you're thinking hand painting, but they paint it by hand, but they use a stencil, obviously. So, yes, it makes sense that the stencil might have been a little off, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, it's a small little nitpicky thing that
It's very easy to do, let's just say that.
Yeah, it's just one of my little pet peeves about models is when things are offset from where they're supposed to be. So.
Yeah, and there is certainly quite a few parts of the model where either the window hasn't got any coloration or they've missed it by quite a bit, especially at the rim of the front of the saucer. There is quite a bit of a problem there, but the rest of it's pretty clean comparative given how many windows there are, and that is a small problem with a lot of the Eaglemoss ships is that the windows are misaligned, and a lot of people say you should just paint them because then you can't misalign it rather than having physical baked-in detail.
I disagree. I think the baked-in detail really makes this ship pop, and when light hits it, you can see the detail. You can see the raised escape pod hatches. You can see the inset windows, and the way the light hits it, it really works for this model.
I love the lower saucer window detail. Again, all baked in, all cut out the model. It's nice to see. Any angle from the ship, it looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, I just wish they would put a little more paint detail maybe in the deflector dish there. I mean, I see the front is basically, it's got the blue, clear blue around there, and then the copper in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think more paint detailing on some of those inner pieces, like the inner ring that was actually different color, would have been great. It would have really added to that.
Is that detail though you see at this level of scale? Because we keep complimenting, but I mean, how are models of this relative scale?
I've got models smaller than this that actually have more detail in deflector than that does. A lot of the ones for this ship, particularly, are very detailed as far as windows and things go. So this one holds up just as well. But there are those few little things, if they would have done, would have pushed this over the top and made it the premier one to have for sure. And that being the reflector detail and also the shuttle bay doors, things like that. There's very small nitpicky things that not a lot of people would notice.
And that's why we're doing this show, to really show you what this model's about. But yeah, brilliant. So any closing thoughts on the model?
No, it's just like I said, it's a great kickoff to an awesome collection of ships. And this was the perfect one to use as their pilot ship, if you will. This one grabbed my attention even when I saw it in Vegas, and just it's amazing.
And what would you give it out of 10 if you had to give it a model review?
I would give it a 9.5. And the only reason I don't give it a perfect 10 is just because of those little details that just missing. That's all.
But that's what a 10 needs, is sort of perfection. I mean, you're trying to find the negatives because there's so many positives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd also give it a 9.5. Everything a growing boy could want in Enterprise. And certainly one to display. And then we can look at the because this model was then re-released to some extent with a collector's Enterprise D Dreadnought with a third nacelle, and we'll look at that and see the differences and similarities, and obviously with the Nebula class when that comes out, again see the differences in the molds and how maybe the 30 or so in between has changed the style. But yeah, so that is the first Eaglemoss review show, the very first magazine. Hope you guys liked it. As you can obviously guess, if you guys like it and watch it, we'll do them all one at a time, all of them, and there's a hell of a lot of them. Got them all sitting right there, waiting to be reviewed, looked at in this detail, and have a model builder, a guy's done dozens of models in great detail, see what his thoughts are. So a lot of fun, a lot of interesting. I learned a lot of things doing this show, and we hope you guys learned some stuff too.
Yeah, it was great having me on. Thank you, Samuel. And yeah, I've done a lot of models. I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done enough that I know what I'm talking about and what to look for. So I'll definitely have some good insights on these things. So it's going to be a fun trip. We've got a lot of shows to do in this
Yeah.
series, so I'm excited to do them. Absolutely.
Great, guys. And that is it for the Enterprise 1701D number 1. Next week, or next episode, will be the Enterprise 1701, not the refit. I mean, not the A, but the refit. And we'll look at the model and see how number 2 in the collection does. So until next time, this is Commander Coggins.
And Captain Foley.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.